Mindful living, your antidote to modern stress. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, your mind racing through to-do lists, worries, and unfinished conversations? You're not alone. In a world that moves faster than our hearts can beat, stress has become our invisible companion. We check our phones the moment we wake up. We multitask through breakfast. We measure our worth by our productivity. But somewhere between the buzzing notifications and the endless hustle, we've lost something precious. Our presence, our breath, our peace. Today, I want to invite you to pause with me. Not just for a moment, but long enough to ask a simple question. What if the antidote to your stress isn't doing more, but being here, now? This is the art of mindful living. And no, it's not just sitting on a cushion with incense burning or chanting mantras in a mountain retreat. Mindful living is practical, grounded, and life-changing. It's about bringing your full attention to the present moment, even when the world around you is spinning. Let's start with something basic, your breath. Take one conscious breath right now. Inhale slowly. Exhale gently. You didn't have to buy anything. You didn't have to go anywhere. And yet, in that single breath, you return to yourself. That's the power of mindfulness. It's not a destination. It's a homecoming. But maybe you're wondering, how can simply paying attention reduce the stress in my life? Well, let's look at what stress really is. Stress often isn't about what's happening. It's about how we are relating to what's happening. It's the resistance, the overthinking, the urge to control every outcome. Our minds leap into the future or spiral into the past. And in doing so, they abandon the only place we can truly live, the present. Mindfulness interrupts that spiral. It gives you space between the stimulus and your reaction. Imagine being stuck in traffic. Your usual response might be frustration, clenching your jaw, maybe cursing under your breath. But with mindfulness, you notice the tension rising, and you choose a different response. You take a breath. You soften your grip on the wheel. You realize, this too shall pass. Stress loses its grip not because the traffic disappeared, but because your relationship with the moment shifted. Mindful living invites us to stop outsourcing our peace to external circumstances. It's not "I'll relax when this deadline passes," or "I'll feel calm when the house is perfectly clean." It's "I choose to be present now, even in the mess, even in the chaos, even when it's hard." But let me be honest, this isn't always easy. Our culture rewards urgency. You might feel guilty for slowing down, or wonder if you're being lazy for simply resting in awareness. But here's the truth. Mindfulness isn't an escape. It's courage. It takes courage to unplug, to listen to your body, to sit with your emotions without trying to fix or numb them. One of the most powerful teachings I've heard from Buddhist wisdom is this: you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. That's what mindful living helps us do. Not eliminate life's challenges, but face them with steadiness and compassion. And it doesn't require a big lifestyle overhaul. You can begin with small rituals. Drink your morning coffee without scrolling your phone. Take a 5-minute walk and actually feel your footsteps. Close your eyes for a moment before replying to that stressful email. Each tiny act of presence plants a seed. Over time, those seeds grow into a more grounded, resilient you. Now, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened, not just to others, but to yourself? Mindfulness isn't just about noticing your surroundings. It's about noticing you, your needs, your energy, your truth. When we live mindfully, we stop betraying ourselves for the sake of being productive or pleasing. We begin honoring the simple miracle of being alive. And that, my friend, is how stress begins to dissolve, not all at once, but gently, breath by breath. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, burned out, disconnected, know that you're not broken. You're just being called home, to yourself. Mindful living isn't a trend. It's a return to what has always been here. Your breath, your body, your awareness. And from this space, you will find clarity. You will find calm. And most importantly, you will find freedom. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to simply sit in silence before you rush to the next video. Let your heart settle. Let your breath guide you back. And if you'd like to journey deeper into this mindful path, I invite you to subscribe and explore more reflections together. Because peace isn't found in a perfect life. It's found in a present one. How to stay calm in a chaotic world. The secret of mindful living. Imagine a life where deadlines don't send your heart racing, where even in the middle of a packed schedule, you can still find little moments of peace. Sounds like a fantasy, doesn't it? But what if that calm, that centeredness you crave, isn't some distant dream? What if it's already within you, just waiting to be remembered? In this video, I'm going to share something simple, but transformative. A way of living that doesn't ask you to quit your job or move to the mountains, but it does ask you to show up, to pay attention, to come back to yourself. This is the art of mindful living, and it may just be the quiet revolution your nervous system has been begging for. 1. The reality of stress. Let's be honest, most of us live in a constant low-grade panic. Emails, texts, deadlines, social media, expectations. We wake up feeling behind, and we go to sleep feeling unfinished. We keep telling ourselves, just get through this week, or things will calm down after this project. But somehow, they never do. Why? Because we've been taught to seek peace outside of ourselves. We think peace comes after the chaos is over. But in reality, chaos never truly ends. Life will always throw curveballs. The real question is, how do you stay steady while the storm passes through? 2. The shift toward mindful living. Mindful living isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about learning how to relate to life differently. At its core, mindfulness is this: being fully present with what is, without judgment. It's the moment when you're washing dishes and actually feel the warm water on your hands. It's hearing the laughter of your child and allowing it to melt your thoughts just for a second. It's pausing before reacting, so you can respond with clarity instead of autopilot stress. You see, the stress isn't always in what's happening. It's in our resistance to it. Our mind spins, predicts, criticizes, compares. And suddenly, we are not living our life. We are narrating it from the sidelines, full of tension. Mindfulness brings us back. To the body. To the breath. To now. 3. A simple illustration. Let me give you an example. There's a short story I love about a monk who was being chased by a tiger. He ran until he reached the edge of a cliff, grabbed a vine, and dangled over the edge. Above him, hungry tiger. Below him, a deadly drop. And right next to the vine, a single ripe strawberry. The monk plucked it and ate it. It was the most delicious strawberry he had ever tasted. Now, this might sound silly. Who eats a strawberry while facing death? But that monk understood something profound. This moment is all we have. Not the one after. Not the imagined safety. Just this bite of life, right here. For the practice is in the small things. So how do we bring this into our real, messy lives? We start small. You don't need a perfect morning routine or a silent retreat. You just need to notice. Try this. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, place your hand on your heart. Feel your breath. Feel that you are alive. Let that be your first connection. Or maybe, at lunch, instead of scrolling, you just eat, taste, chew, pause. Tiny rituals like these shift your nervous system from survival mode to presence. And when done consistently, they change how you show up, in work, in relationships, in the world. 5. A personal reflection. I used to live with this deep belief that I had to earn my rest. That stillness was something you got after the checklist was done. But the checklist never ends. It wasn't until I burned out, fully, painfully, that I realized rest isn't a reward. It's a requirement. Now, I build mindful moments into my day like breathing spaces, tiny doors back to myself. Some days, it's a walk in silence. Other days, just one slow breath before a difficult conversation. It's not about being perfect. It's about remembering and returning. Again and again. 6. Final thought plus reflection. Here's something to ask yourself today. What would my life feel like if I gave myself permission to slow down? Not after everything is done, but right now. Would you speak more kindly to yourself? Would you enjoy your meals more? Would you finally hear what your heart has been whispering? Mindful living isn't about escaping life. It's about finally entering it. Fully. So next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to fix the whole world. You just have to come back to one breath. To one moment. And from that moment, you begin again. If this message spoke to you, take a second now. Don't rush off. Just sit. Breathe. And maybe, place a hand on your chest and whisper to yourself, I am here. And if you'd like to keep walking this path together, feel free to subscribe, or leave a comment sharing your favorite way to return to the present. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. The world needs more people who are fully here. The modern stress epidemic. Why you're more tired than you realize. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly felt rested? Not just I got a good night's sleep rested, but the kind of deep, soul-level calm where your body unclenches, your breath softens, and there's no pressure to rush, nowhere else to be. If you can't remember, you're not alone. We are living through a silent epidemic. And no, it's not a virus. It's stress. Chronic, low-level, high-functioning, socially accepted stress. And the wild thing is, most of us have gotten so used to it, we don't even question it anymore. It's like we've all agreed to live with a constant background hum of anxiety and call it normal. But it's not. One always-on culture, the new normal. Let's talk about this culture we've built. We live in an always-on society. Notifications at 6 a.m. Slack messages on a Saturday. Emailing from the grocery store. Texting during dinner. Even our breaks are filled with scrolling TikTok, catching up on news, or replying to group chats. We are connected all the time, yet rarely present. It's like the moment we try to pause, something pings or vibrates or reminds us we are falling behind. Falling behind what, exactly? That's never quite clear. But the pressure? Very real. We've come to associate stillness with laziness. Busyness has become a badge of honor. But beneath the surface, something's unraveling. To the illusion of productivity. In 2025, we are more productive than ever. There are apps for everything. AI to optimize your workflow. Podcasts that teach you how to squeeze more out of your day. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of what we call productivity isn't really making us well. It's making us efficiently exhausted. We finish the task, tick the box, hit the deadline. But do we feel fulfilled? Grounded? Whole? Many of us don't. Because the game has changed. We are not just being asked to do more. We are expected to be more responsive, more available, more adaptable. And while the world applauds your output, it rarely pauses to ask about your inner state. So we keep going, until something inside says, I can't do this anymore. 3. The real-world cost of chronic stress. Here's the part we don't talk about enough. Chronic stress doesn't just make you tired. It reshapes your life. It shows up as headaches, poor sleep, muscle tension, digestive issues. It messes with your mood, your focus, your immune system. Over time, it can lead to anxiety, depression, even serious health problems like heart disease or autoimmune flare-ups. But here's what makes it tricky. Stress today doesn't always look like panic or chaos. Sometimes it looks like you sitting at your desk, smiling politely, while your chest quietly tightens. Or like you getting through the day, but collapsing emotionally the moment you're alone. That's the modern face of stress. High-functioning, socially invisible, and deeply unsustainable. For why we are all feeling it, yes, even you. You might be thinking, well, that's just life now, right? We are all busy. It is what it is. But stop for a second. Why have we normalized a lifestyle that drains us? Why have we accepted a culture where burnout is expected, and rest feels like rebellion? Somewhere along the line, we stopped measuring success by joy, health, or peace, and started measuring it by output, speed, and status updates. And maybe, just maybe, that's not the life we were meant to live. 5. A question worth asking. So here's the question I want to leave with you today. What if success isn't about doing more, but feeling more alive while you do it? What if being present was more impressive than being busy? What if the real flex in 2025 is knowing how to slow down in a world addicted to speed? Because the truth is, stress will always exist. Life will always have demands. But how we relate to those demands, that's where our power lies. 6. A personal reflection. I used to think being stressed meant I was important. That if I was overwhelmed, I must be doing something that matters. But eventually, I realized, stress doesn't always mean your life is meaningful. Sometimes, it just means your boundaries are missing. So I started making small changes. Saying no more often. Unplugging at night. Taking real, unapologetic rest. And what I discovered surprised me. The world didn't fall apart, but I began to feel whole again. If any part of this hit home, if you've been running on empty, wondering why you're always tired, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're just human, living in a system that rewards burnout and calls it ambition. But you don't have to keep playing that game. You can choose something different. You can create small spaces of quiet in your day. You can listen to your body. You can redefine success in your own terms. And from there, something beautiful begins. Not a life without stress, but a life where stress doesn't own you. If this message spoke to you, take one small step today. Close your eyes. Take a long, slow breath. And ask yourself, what do I need right now? Not to perform, but to feel whole again. And if you'd like to keep exploring this path, I invite you to subscribe. Not for tips on how to hustle harder, but for reminders that your peace matters. That you matter. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. This world is loud, but your calm can be louder. Mindful living, more than just meditation. When you hear the word mindfulness, what comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's sitting cross-legged in silence, eyes closed, incense burning, maybe on a mountaintop or in a minimalist room. Meditation cushions, soft music, no distractions. And while that image isn't wrong, it's only one small piece of the picture. Mindful living, real, everyday mindfulness, is so much bigger than meditation. It's not about perfection. It's not about escaping life. It's about showing up fully for life, right in the middle of dishes, deadlines, traffic, and conversations. So today, I want to explore what mindfulness really means in our modern lives. Not as a spiritual performance, but as a quiet revolution of presence. One presence over perfection. One of the biggest misunderstandings about mindfulness is that it's about doing it right. You sit, your mind wanders, and suddenly you think, I'm bad at this. But here's the truth. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind. It's about noticing what your mind is doing, without judgment. It's about presence, not perfection. Have you ever been driving somewhere familiar and realized you don't remember how you got there? Or eaten a full meal while scrolling your phone and barely tasted a bite? We spend so much of our lives on autopilot. Mindfulness gently invites us to wake up, to return to the moment we are in, even if it's messy, noisy, or imperfect. Because life is happening now. Not in some perfect future version of yourself, but right here, in this breath, this bite, this pause between tasks. To the shift, reactive versus responsive. Let's talk about the difference between reacting and responding. We live in a world that demands our attention constantly. And when we are not grounded, we get pulled into every notification, every disagreement, every minor irritation. We snap. We rush. We say things we don't mean. We chase things we don't need. That's reactivity. It's fast, unconscious, and usually fueled by stress. But mindfulness creates a space between the trigger and your reaction. It helps you slow down just enough to choose your response instead of getting hijacked by it. You don't have to become emotionless. You just learn to become aware. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You feel the anger rise. But instead of shouting or tailgating, you take a breath. You notice the tension in your body. You soften. You move on. That's the power of mindfulness. Not in changing the world around you, but in changing your relationship to it. 3 Beyond the cushion. Everyday mindfulness in action. Meditation is beautiful. But if you think that's the only way to practice mindfulness, you're missing the magic. Mindfulness can happen anywhere. Try mindful eating. Next time you sit down for a meal, put your phone away. Smell the food. Chew slowly. Actually taste it. Notice how different that experience is compared to eating in front of your inbox. Or try mindful walking. No destination. No podcast. Just you, your breath, and your feet on the earth. Notice the rhythm of your steps. The air on your skin. The sound of your surroundings. You don't need hours. 5 minutes of full presence is more nourishing than 20 distracted ones. And then there's one of the most overlooked practices, mindful conversations. When you talk to someone, can you really listen, without preparing your response, judging, or drifting away? Can you be fully with them, even for a moment? That's mindfulness. Not flashy, not complicated, but powerful. Because in those moments of attention, we connect. To others, to ourselves, to life. For a personal reflection. I used to believe mindfulness had to look a certain way. I thought if I wasn't meditating every morning for 30 minutes, I wasn't doing it right. But then I started practicing presence in everyday things. Washing the dishes became a sensory experience. A walk to the store became a grounding ritual. Waiting in line became a chance to check in with my breath instead of checking my phone. I began noticing the texture of life again. And in doing so, I started noticing myself again. Noticing when I was tired. When I was rushing. When I was joyful, for no reason at all. Mindfulness didn't make my life perfect, but it made me aware. And awareness changed everything. 5. An invitation to you. So maybe the question isn't, am I mindful? Maybe the better question is, where am I not present in my life? Is it during meals? During conversations with your kids? During the commute? During the quiet, in-between moments that often go unnoticed? What if you brought just 5% more awareness into those spaces? You don't need to become a monk. You don't need to meditate for hours. You just need to pause, to breathe, to notice, to return, again and again. So no, mindful living isn't just meditation. It's how you brush your teeth. It's how you hold a conversation. It's how you respond to stress. It's how you return, again and again, to the present moment. Because this moment, right now, is the only one you ever truly have. And maybe, just maybe, this is where life begins to feel like living again. If you found something in this message that resonates, pause right now. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath. Feel what it's like to be here. And if you'd like to walk this mindful path together, I invite you to subscribe, leave a comment, or simply return whenever you need a reminder. You don't need to escape life to find peace. You just need to show up for it. Simple mindful practices for your day. Have you ever felt like the day was rushing past you, like a blur? Like you were there, but not really there? You answered emails, made coffee, scrolled through your phone, got stuck in traffic, but by the end of it, you couldn't quite remember where your time, or your mind, actually went. In a world that never stops spinning, mindfulness offers us a way to pause, not by escaping, but by arriving. Fully, gently, honestly. But here's the beautiful thing. Mindfulness doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't ask you to go on a retreat or sit cross-legged for hours under a fig tree. Sometimes, it just takes 3 minutes. 3 minutes of coming home to your breath. Let's begin with that. The 3-minute breath anchor. An instant calm amidst the chaos. Wherever you are right now, maybe you're sitting at your desk, maybe standing in line, maybe listening in your car, just take a moment. Gently bring your attention to your breath. No need to force anything. Just notice. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the breath as it moves in and out of your body. Let your breath become your anchor. Not to control anything, but to remember, you're here. In just 3 minutes, this tiny practice can interrupt the mental storms. It can be the pause between stimulus and response, like a mini reset button for your nervous system. And the best part? You can do it anywhere. No one even has to know. If we can return to the breath a few times a day, especially in moments of stress, boredom, or autopilot, we are not just breathing. We are choosing presence over panic, clarity over chaos. Digital detox breaks, creating space between you and your screen. Now, let's talk tech. How many times have you reached for your phone? Not because you needed it, but just because it was there. We've all been there. Our devices are designed to pull us in. Endless scrolling, constant notifications, the illusion of connection while actually increasing our disconnection from the present moment. So here's a practice. Pick a window in your day, even just 10 minutes, where you intentionally unplug. No phone. No laptop. No screen. Just you, the moment, and your breath. Maybe it's during your lunch, or when you first wake up, or right before bed. These tiny digital detox breaks aren't about rejecting technology. They're about reclaiming your relationship with it. You're reminding yourself that you are not a slave to every ping, buzz, or red dot. You are allowed to be unavailable. You are allowed to be here. And in that quiet space, you'll be surprised what starts to speak. Creativity, calm, clarity. All the things buried under the noise. Sensory awareness exercises. Coming back to the body, one sense at a time. Mindfulness is not just a mental state. it's a full body experience. So let's bring your senses into the picture. Try this. Look around. What do you see? Notice the colors, the shapes, the movement of light. Now pause and listen. Not just for the obvious sounds, but the subtle ones, the hum of the air conditioner, birds outside, your own breath. Then touch. Feel the texture of your shirt, the chair beneath you, your fingertips gently pressing together. When we tune into our senses, we reconnect with the world as it actually is, not just how we think it is. It's like wiping the lens of a foggy camera. Suddenly, everything becomes sharper, and often, more beautiful. Even a cup of tea can feel like a miracle when we really taste it. Final reflection. Mindfulness is in the micro-moments. So many people think mindfulness is some lofty practice reserved for the few. But really, it's built in the cracks of our everyday life. 3 minutes of breath. 10 minutes away from a screen. 5 minutes of noticing sound, sight, and sensation. These are not small things. They are life-changing, because they change how we show up to life. The truth is, the quality of our lives is shaped not just by what we do, but by how we do it. With attention, with intention, with presence. So the next time you feel lost in the blur, remember this. You always have a doorway back. Through your breath. Through your senses. Through your simple choice to be here. And that, perhaps, is the most profound practice of all. Building a sustainable mindful habit. Have you ever tried to build a new habit, something simple, like meditating for 5 minutes a day, only to find yourself forgetting, avoiding it, or just not feeling like it? You're not alone. The truth is, change doesn't come through big declarations. It grows quietly, like a seed watered gently, daily. Let's talk about how to build a sustainable mindfulness practice. One that doesn't feel like a chore, but something that naturally becomes part of your life. Not out of pressure, but out of peace. 1. Start small. Really small. There's something powerful about starting small. And I don't mean 5 minutes, I mean 1 breath. 1 mindful breath before opening your phone in the morning. 1 breath before replying to that stressful email. That's the beginning. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You wouldn't skip it for a week just because you didn't have time for a full dental routine. In the same way, mindfulness doesn't need to be long. It needs to be consistent. Ask yourself this. What's the smallest possible step I can take today to reconnect with the present moment? Maybe it's noticing the way sunlight hits the table during breakfast. Maybe it's placing your hand on your chest before sleep and simply saying, I'm here. It's not about intensity, it's about continuity. Micro-practices, done daily, begin to reshape your relationship with time, with yourself, with life. 2. Understand and overcome resistance. Now let's be honest, we resist what we most need. I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? Resistance is clever. It disguises itself as logic. But if we dig deeper, we find something else underneath. Fear. Fear of stillness. Fear of facing ourselves. Fear that slowing down will somehow make us fall behind. But here's the truth. No one ever lost their way by pausing. In fact, it's in those quiet pauses that we return to ourselves. A trick I often use is this. If I'm too busy to take 1 mindful breath, I definitely need 5. Because busyness is not just a schedule problem. It's a state of mind. And mindfulness is the antidote. Try this. Write down your top 3 excuses for not practicing mindfulness. Then ask, what if the opposite were true? What if your tiredness is exactly why you need stillness? What if your distractions are actually invitations to come home? You're not broken for forgetting. You're human. And every moment is a new invitation to begin again. 3. Embed mindfulness into what already exists. Here's the secret. You don't need a new schedule. You just need a new lens. Mindfulness isn't about carving out more time. It's about changing the way you experience the time you already have. Your morning coffee? Try holding the cup with both hands. Feel the warmth. Smell the aroma. Take 1 sip with your full attention. That's meditation. Your daily commute? Turn off the noise. Notice the rhythm of walking or the hum of the car. Breathe into your shoulders. Feel your feet on the ground. That's meditation too. At bedtime, instead of reaching for your phone, place a hand on your heart. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I carrying from this day that I'm ready to set down? You don't need to escape your life to practice mindfulness. You just need to show up fully for the life that's already happening. A gentle reflection. Maybe we've been taught that growth comes from force, or discipline, or achieving. But what if the deepest transformation comes from returning? From remembering? From gently choosing presence over and over again, even when it's messy, even when we forget? I want to leave you with this question. What would it look like if mindfulness felt like a friend, not a task? Maybe it's not about fixing yourself. Maybe it's about walking beside yourself, kindly. One breath, one moment, one day at a time. Final thought. The sustainable habit you're building isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you are, beneath the rush, beneath the noise. Mindfulness, when done gently and consistently, becomes less of a practice and more of a way of being. And like any relationship, the one you build with presence grows stronger not through grand gestures, but through the quiet decision to return, even for just 3 minutes, or one mindful breath. So today, may you begin again. And again. Until presence becomes home. Your antidote awaits, a call to inner calm. What if the peace you've been searching for isn't out there? What if, instead of chasing calm in a chaotic world, you could create it within yourself? I want to invite you to pause for just a moment. Close your eyes, if you'd like. Inhale slowly, and exhale. Right here, right now, you are alive. You are breathing. And in this simple act of awareness, you've already taken your first step into a more mindful life. We live in a world that moves fast. Too fast. Deadlines pile up. Notifications scream for your attention. You wake up with a buzzing brain and go to sleep still scrolling, still comparing, still worrying. And somewhere along the way, you start to believe that this is just the way life is. That stress is the tax we pay for survival. But that's not true. Because there is an antidote. And it doesn't come in a pill, or a retreat, or a temporary escape. It comes in the form of something quietly powerful, consistent, mindful living. Let me be honest with you. Mindfulness isn't magic. It won't erase your problems. It won't make traffic disappear or suddenly fix that complicated relationship. But what it will do is transform your relationship to all of it. With time, with practice, with small, meaningful moments, it rewires your nervous system. It gives you pause between stimulus and reaction. It returns your attention to the only place you can ever truly live, the present. Think about it. How many moments of your day do you actually remember? How often are you eating without tasting, listening without hearing, or walking without noticing the sky? A consistent mindful practice invites you back into your life, not as a distant observer, but as an active, compassionate participant. And no, you don't have to meditate for an hour a day or attend silent retreats in the mountains. You can begin right here, where you are. You can choose one mindful breath during your morning coffee. You can notice the weight of your body against your chair during a meeting. You can place your hand on your chest and breathe when anxiety rises. These are small acts, but over time, they stack. They strengthen your ability to return to calm, even when life is far from calm. I've found that the real challenge isn't understanding why mindfulness matters. It's giving ourselves permission to choose peace. Because let's face it, there's a part of us that resists slowing down. It says, I don't have time. Or, I'm not good at meditation. Or even, what difference will it make? These thoughts are not enemies. They're simply protective habits. They developed over years of living in survival mode. But what if, instead of fighting them, you could gently meet them with curiosity? You might say, okay, maybe I don't have an hour, but do I have 1 minute? 1 mindful minute is enough to begin. In my own life, I used to believe that peace was something I had to earn. Once I finished everything, once everyone else was okay, once I had my life together. But that mindset only made me chase something that was already within me. It wasn't until I began making small, sacred pauses part of my daily rhythm that I realized peace isn't a reward. It's a practice. And it's available, always. Now, I want to speak directly to you. Yes, you, the one watching. If life has felt too loud lately, too fast, too overwhelming, I get it. But you don't have to wait for a better season, a different job, or the world to calm down in order to feel grounded again. You can choose it, right now. You can create micro-moments of mindfulness and string them like pearls throughout your day. Because this isn't just about managing stress. It's about reclaiming your joy. It's about remembering that you are not your thoughts, that you are not your stress. You are something far deeper, the awareness behind it all. Let this be your invitation. Not from a guru, not from an app, but from the quiet whisper within you that knows you're ready. Ready to stop rushing through your life and start living it with presence. Ready to stop numbing and start feeling again. Ready to trade reactivity for intention and anxiety for aliveness. So start small. Choose one mindful practice this week. Maybe it's turning off your phone during meals. Maybe it's taking 3 deep breaths before answering an email. Maybe it's watching the sky change colors for 5 minutes before bed. Whatever it is, start. Start not because you should, but because your peace is worth it. Because you are worth it. And if no one has told you this lately, you're allowed to feel calm. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to live your life without constant urgency. The antidote isn't out there. It's already here, waiting inside you. Now, will you choose it?